Welcome to this game sleep relaxation video. Your chance to relax and unwind. So before we start, take a few moments to get comfortable, either sitting or laying down. Don't worry if there's a bit of noise in the background. Just make sure that you won't be physically disturbed for the next few moments. And as you get yourself comfortable, take in a couple of deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feel the sense of the lungs expanding as you breathe out. Let the body go. And if you haven't done so already, here's your invitation to start closing your eyes. As I play the game, I'll tell you some stories and anecdotes, some things from my life maybe. I'll give you my thoughts on things that are happening in the game. All these things are your invitation to allow your eyes to start to feel heavy. There's no requirement to watch the video and the action unfold. I'll describe everything that happens visually to you. You just need to be in this moment as we stand here by the river and just listen to the sound of the water. And the bird's song. And any other sounds that you hear as we go about our tasks today of working in the sawmill or the lumber mill and collecting some wood. As we do that, remember that if your mind wanders, that's absolutely fine. Just gently draw it back. Just going to start to use this chopping block now to start to chop some wood. Clearly a fairly repetitive task. Round at the moment, we have the sound of the bird's song, the river flowing through this lovely village. Today we're here just to relax and unwind, and maybe to sleep a little. Just going to, at this moment, place another block on the wood and chop it. And imagine that in these times, from many hundreds or thousands of years ago, there would have been large number of sort of repetitive tasks like this. And I think now, compared to a lot of the work that people do in this day and age, a nice repetitive task like this, done for a reason, it's somewhat stress relieving. I'm going to leave this block now. I'm just going to head over to explore a little bit more around this village. As we head across a timber bridge, everything in this village is made from wood or stone. The architecture, the roofing, we use a thatch roof here. There are guards that patrol around. People out in working in the street, tanning leather. The sound of what seems like thunder in the distance. And again, that sound of the river running by peacefully. The people seem happy here. The people seem content here. This seems like a nice place to live. And it's where we find ourselves tonight. Just heading towards a tree stump now, which looked to be quite a large tree at some stage before it was felled. Judging by the width of it, it's similar in diameter to the next tree over. Which is high. It seems we're in somewhat of a mountainous region. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but there's quite a lot of mist and fog. Remember, you don't need to look necessarily at the game, as I'll describe everything that happens. There's no need to rewind anything if your mind wanders. Just continue on listening and relaxing. This is your chance now to relax. And just draw your mind back whenever it wanders away, draw it back to the sounds of the game as we approach a different chopping block here. I'm going to chop some more wood just for a few moments. Going to break now away from here. And just slowly walk towards the sawmill. You don't need to be concerned with the events of tomorrow or any happenings from today. You only need to focus at the moment on the sound of the water lapping from the watermill. This sawmill that we're in here means you can drop some timber as we do that now onto the cutting ramp, and it's possible to saw the timber in two by walking around to the other side. Just listen and hear as we pull the lever and start the timber mill. The saw starts to chop the wood. We'll come back here soon and look again at the piles of wood. The house on the left here is home to a blacksmith, so we're just walking up the main street now. There's stone and mud in the ground as we start to climb his 3 or 4 steps and just spend some time.
May the gods watch over your battles, friend.
Here with the blacksmith as he's at work. I always found the characters within Skyrim to be really intriguing if you spend any time in a certain area. You get to know the names. And where they work and what jobs they do. So we'll make our way a little closer now and watch the blacksmith as he sharpens a weapon, a sword. Again, the sound of the river and the grindstone doing its work. You just need to concentrate on this moment and listen to those sounds around you. And don't worry if your mind wanders. Don't worry if you tune out and miss any of the sounds in this video. It's the mid-afternoon now and the weather's changing a little. As we walk again through the main street here, this small village. I always found this game to be particularly relaxing at times. Did you hear the characters' footsteps? We've left the village now, and we're heading towards bridge. We'll just stop before the bridge and spend a little time just listening to the water passing under the bridge and lapping around the edge of the bank in here, around the character's feet. Remember, there's nothing to see. There's nothing of any particular interest occurring during the gameplay. This is your moment now to relax, and if at any point you feel your eyes heavy, if you've got them open, then feel free to close them. You might find yourself dropping off to sleep at any time, and that's fine. In the distance, there's a waterfall cascading down the rocks, and its stream meets with the river, the same river that we've been walking alongside and exploring this village. By the sawmill. I always find that walks in nature, wherever they are, or wherever you may be on a walk, I always find them really relaxing and stress relieving. I like to head out into the countryside. Myself in real life, and to just walk and explore. So the opportunity to do that within a game, in a different time period, is a welcome one for me. As we just head back into the village now. Seen how things have changed, if anything, in the few moments that we were away. It's a very sleepy village, with some children running around and the sound of a dog barking. The dog's running with the children. And very little happens here. It's very unremarkable, yet beautiful, all at the same time. As the sawmill looks as though it's in use now, at this moment in time. I like to walk as well in real life, in the city. I like to walk in the city sometimes. I like to find parks within the city, and sometimes I just like to walk and people watch. As the sawmill comes to a halt here, we can just spend some time watching the man as he puts his blade into the pile of timber or lumber and drops it down onto the ramp and makes his way around to the lever. Which will start the process of the saw itself. And the wood falls after being cut into the pile. And again, the saw comes to a standstill. It's time again for the man who works here and this sawmill to repeat the same feat, to just drop the timber or the lumber onto the machine and then cut it. There's very little to see. It is your time now to relax. You don't need to be concerned with the mill itself. If your mind wanders, remember that that's absolutely fine. Just draw it back to this moment as we exit the timber mill. Down the ramp. As we hear the sound of more lumber being loaded, we'll head over to another chopping block where we'll help the people who live here by chopping some more wood for a few moments. I have a friend who has a log burner. Of course, he buys timber and he chops the timber similarly to this. There's something quite charming I find about using that as a heating resource. But at the same time, I think the wellness benefits of spending time just chopping the wood, especially in such a fantastic location. The day is starting to close in the game now. It's 8 minutes past 6 in the evening, and the shadows are starting to grow long. The lighting is changing as we go through. It's very different now to as it was earlier. As we just leave the wood there, the firewood, the local residents, the people of this village. There's an orange glow to the village now as dusk is starting to be upon us, really. You can hear the sound still of the saw doing its work as we just walk over another bridge and just spend a little time admiring the view of the river upstream. What appears to be a waterfall. The sky is now starting to have an orange tint to the clouds. And you can just hear the sounds again of sporadic birdsong and that soothing, relaxing sound of the ambient music, along with the river. The same sounds we've had throughout this day in the game. As I start to make our way off the bridge, I'm going to head upstream now. I'll explain anything that we can see. Might not be possible. We might have to detour, but to try and see how far we can get upstream. Again, it sounds thunder in the distance. It's 7:15 PM in the game now, and darkness is starting to creep in. Just out immediately outside of the village, there's a horse and a small campfire. The flames burning warm. Would be possible to cook something on such a fire, or just to use the heat to keep warm and relaxed. There's a signpost. With some directions to nearby towns. This signpost is made again from timber. It's a sign of the times, the materials used. Just get back again to the water's edge. Looking up into the sky now, you can see the stars there. And a rather impressive moon. Huge in size. Starting to form. There's something I find particularly relaxing about water, running water, stream or river. You just hear the sound still of the running water, but notice how the sounds are different now. It's nightfall. The ambient sounds of the wildlife is different. The trees which grow have fungus growing from within them. It's a timely reminder how one life form relies on another life form and things work in unison. PM now, and the village has a very different feel to it at this stage. The children that were running around are no longer there. The people who are working outside tanning leather or working in the blacksmith, they've now gone inside.
They say Ulfric Stormcloak murdered the High King with his voice, shouted him apart.
And the people who speak to us at this moment are the city guards, the town guards, who are guarding this village. But there's a surprising amount of light provided by the moon, or the size of the moon, with the sun reflecting on it. As we just make our way back across the village and across the bridge over the water. There's very little of interest to see. The same patch of space that we've been on the entirety of this sleep relaxation session. Just remember that if your mind wanders, it's absolutely fine. Just draw it back to this moment. While there's not as much talking to concentrate on, it could be an idea to count your breaths. Don't breathe any differently to normal. Let your breathing take care of itself. But just to simply count your breaths as far as 10. And then back down to 0. And if you find it helps to count back up to 10 and back down to 0 as many times as you like. Hope this video has been helpful and has allowed you to relax, maybe fall asleep. I thank you for your time this evening, and I hope to hear from you in the future. For similar videos. Please be well. Take care of yourself and good night.